Hey folks, and welcome to a quick tutorial on how to make a custom, simple subscribe button overlay just like this in Vegas Pro 17. Let's get to it. This tutorial is going to cover the basics on how to make and animate your own custom subscribe button overlay in Vegas Pro 17. Now for this, you're only going to need a couple things. I'm going to be using a custom-made subscribe button image that I made in GIMP, but you're more than welcome to use any image that you would like, whether it be the standard YouTube subscribe button or a custom one that you've made or had somebody made for you. Now, the only thing I recommend is that you do use a .png format on your image and not something like .jpeg or another format, as this is going to create a non-transparent background behind your image that's going to make a nasty looking box in the animation, and it's going to overlay across your video. It's going to make it look pretty unprofessional, so definitely stick with the .png and make sure that your image has a transparent background. The only other thing that we're going to be using today is a standard mouse click noise that I was able to get off YouTube. You can use any noise you'd like, or not even use a noise at all if you don't want to. So first step is we're going to go ahead and do the basic animation for the subscribe button. It's very simple to do. The first thing you want to do is make sure you have a video track ready to go, and we're going to go ahead and pull in the subscribe button that you're using, whichever one that might be. In this case, like I said, I'm using the one that I've made for my channel. And generally speaking, I think about 4 seconds is long enough for these things. Any more than that and it's going to be kind of obtrusive over your video, but it really depends on what kind of animation you're going for, how long you want it to be there. The basics that we're going for here is that we want the button to slide in, we want to do the click animation, we want it to hold there for at least a couple seconds so people can see it and recognize that it's there, and then get out of the way quick enough that people don't think that it's obtrusive. So I think about 4 seconds is long enough for this. You can make it up to 6 or 10 seconds, however long you would like. It really just depends on your own personal taste. So we're going to go ahead and drag that down to 4 seconds. We're going to go ahead and start at the very beginning here of our timeline. And then what we're going to do to get the animation is use event pan crop, which is here on top right there. It says 2 intersecting lines. We're going to go pull ahead this box up, drag it out so we can see everything and see our timeline fully. Now, this timeline here is what we use to create animations in Sony Vegas 17. We do that by creating keyframes, which basically means we want the image to be at a certain point at a certain time, and then Vegas is going to go ahead and do the animation, make it move from point A to point B depending on where we put our keyframes. So first thing I always recommend is that we sync our cursor. This means that wherever we're at in this timeline here in our event pan crop tool, we'll do the exact same area and the exact same time on our full timeline, which is a really useful tool to make sure that you're not going out of your way and doing something weird. The other thing I highly recommend for this is that you enable snapping. This means that wherever we move this, it'll snap to the grid, and that way we can make sure we're doing exact lines and we're not doing really kind of skeezy, bad animation. It'll look really nice and clean. For this, I also think that we only need to be in the move in X only. If you have this in the full one, you might accidentally move things around, so we definitely don't want that, so move it in the X only. And so for the first thing is we want to make sure this animation comes from the left-hand side of the screen. You can do the right-hand side, but for this we're going to do the left, which means we're going to drag this box all the way to the right-hand side, which as you can see means that it's going to come from the left when we do the animation. But again, we want to make sure we're at the very beginning of our timeline. We want this to start outside of frame and outside of focus, and then at about 1 second is when we want it to be back fully in screen. So it should have taken about a second for this to animate in, so we're going to go ahead and drag this back here on this keyframe, and you can do that by dragging, or you can hit right click restore. Okay. Then what we're going to do is we want it to hold there for about 2 seconds, I think is long enough. So we're at the 1 second mark, so we're going to go to the 3 second mark, and we're going to go ahead and actually we're going to copy this keyframe right here. You can do that by right clicking and hitting copy, or you can do Control C, and we're going to go ahead and paste it over here. Now what this is going to do is make sure that for those 2 seconds between these keyframes, this box doesn't move. And if we don't have that, what's going to happen is it's not going to stay there for any time at all. It's actually going to start animating back, which we don't want. Then at the very end of our timeline here, we're going to go ahead and drag it back out the same way we came, so that way it comes back in the same way that it came back out. Now this is a very basic animation we've got here, so let's take a look and see what this looks like. See, it works, it comes in, it holds, and it goes out. Now we want to add a little bit more flair to this, so we're going to go ahead and add in the click animation. So right after it comes in fully into focus, what we're going to do is we're going to take this box and we're going to drag it out 2, adding another keyframe right after this first keyframe that we made. What that's going to do is it's going to make it shrink, which is what we need for the click animation, and then right after that, probably another 2 boxes or so, we're going to go ahead and restore this back to full. You can do that by right-click restore or drag it back like I just did. And what that should do is create a nice little click animation. It's actually a little too quick for us. So we want to drag it out just a bit maybe to make it a little bit slower. I think that's perfect. Okay, cool. So now we've got this nice little click animation in. We want to give it a little bit more flair. So we're going to go ahead and add that click sound that we've got right here. So to go ahead and add the click sound, what we're going to do is we're going to insert an audio track right under our video track. We're going to take our mouse click noise and we're going to go ahead and drag this into our timeline. Now what we need to do is make sure that we sync up the noise here. So we've got the noise and it's a little bit off. Obviously it's not in the right place. So what we're going to do is we're going to go frame by frame using the arrow keys. And we're going to find exactly when the subscribe button starts getting bigger again, which is right there. So I like to do it right before it starts getting larger again. We're going to go ahead, messed that up. We're going to go ahead and we're going to drag this right over that. And so then that should time out perfectly. There we go. So we double click the whole thing and we do loop playback just so you can see what it looks like over and over again. I think that's a pretty well timed subscribe button. So that's a pretty basic animation with sound that you can use on pretty much any of your YouTube videos to add a little bit of flair and a little bit of pop that I think is really going to be appreciated. You can use this to create all sorts of fun different little animations as well. Different things like Twitch or Instagram or whatever you want people to be able to see. You can do all these things using the same principles that you've learned here in this video. If you like that tutorial, make sure you click the like button and go ahead and subscribe to the channel so you can see other tutorials here in the future. And go ahead and leave a comment about what other things you might like to see me do tutorials on here.